One. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve podcast. Today we have an English musician. Now, why is this different? Why is it a sudden surprise? Well, it's the first time that I've actually had an English musician on the show. I've had musicians from other countries, but for me, this will be interesting because I am also an English musician. So there's a lot of talking points here. But to get more to the point, to get actually to the guest himself, our guest is an English musician who's been doing this for quite a number of years, and he's also a YouTuber, and he's got himself a bit of a following on YouTube now because of the songs that he's singing and the types of influences that he has and the kind of sound that he has. And we'll get into that in the course of this interview. But his name is Adam Barrett. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Hello. Pleased to be here. I'm good. You?
Yeah, very good, very good. I will just say we've been trying to get Adam on the show for a little bit of time, and there were various reasons why we couldn't do it. But this is very spur of the moment. Adam has some time, and I was like, well, I'm not doing anything right now, and I am prepared. Although, admittedly, I did have to run and just make sure I'm tidy and presentable. But with regards to the actual research itself, we are ready and all guns blazing. I'll just jump straight into the questions and let's get to know you a bit. So you have I've written this down like this, and it's true, but it's just funny to me. You have a fantastic taste in music, and I think so anyway. And you do a lot of covers of bands such as Oasis, the Beatles, and arguably your favorite, the Smiths. And that's what I came across as well through YouTube, probably through the algorithm, which is why I mentioned that your YouTube is doing well, because it's sort of being picked up. And, you know, I listen to a lot of musicians online. I think when you are a musician, you sort of like to listen to other musicians as well. There is that element to it, but it's also, you know, just liking good music, always wanting to kind of see up and coming artists and such. And, you know, I sort of just randomly clicked on it and I thought, this would be interesting. And you absolutely nailed the song. And I was like, okay, I'm a fan of this guy straight away. So I guess my first question is, I wanted to ask, how did you get into these particular bands? And what do you love so much about the Smiths in comparison to the other bands? Because I'd say that on your channel, your YouTube channel, in particular, there's a lot of covers of the Smiths. So that's kind of arguably your favorite. So I just wanted to kind of know, how you got into those bands and what specifically makes the Smiths special to you.
Yeah, fair enough. How did I get into them? I don't know. Just the same way everyone else got into music, I guess. I mean, when I was younger, at school there was I'll tell you the honest truth, right? When I was younger, I used to listen to like pop in the 90s, the early 90s. I was just into pop music. I was too young. I didn't know about anything else. And if you want the really boring, long story about it,
absolutely,
there was a kid at school called Chris, who was like the coolest kid in school. And I'd heard Oasis, and I was kind of like a little bit into Oasis, but he loved Oasis, like he loved them. And basically, he was the cool kid, and I thought, okay, it's cool to listen to Oasis. So I started listening to Oasis, and I was like, yeah. Got into them a little bit, but not massively. Then a couple of years later, the Master Plan came out, the album, and my mate gave it to me and just said, have a listen to this. And I was like, okay, this is like 1998 or something like that. And I kind of liked them, but I wasn't massively into them. And then for some reason, I listened to the album and the song Underneath the Sky, which is really not a popular, it's a very weird song. It's got a chromatic, like, chord progression in the chorus, and it's so odd. And I just remember that weird sound struck me, and I was like, what is this? And then, from there, I just loved them from that moment onwards, really, to be fair. I saw them in 2005.
Oh, wow.
Oasis was my big first, like, rock passion sort of thing. And then everything else came from there, I would say, really. Like, everything, you know, discovering the Beatles, discovering the Smiths, Jam, like the Lars, like everyone from there, just all kind of spread out. So, yeah.
Did you kind of discover it through, because I think Noel Gallagher in particular has always kind of cited the Smiths and the Beatles and
Mm.
bands like that as being like, you know, direct kind of influences. And you can kind of see that, I suppose, visually, they're very reminiscent of the Beatles. I think Liam's also said that there's like a big influence there.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the sound in particular,
Mm.
there's like that direct link between their sounds, and Noel's actually covered quite a few of their songs. I actually watched a video recently where he apparently was given Johnny Marr's guitar, and it was a pretty crazy story.
Yeah. What was that for? Slide.
It was something to do.
It came straight out.
It was something to do with, I think they became friends, or they toured together, something like that. And then Noel's guitar had broken, so he basically just
Yeah.
said to Johnny Marr, like, "Yeah, can I use yours?" And then he was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah," and he just didn't give it back. But then gave it
Yeah.
back like many years later, like 15 years later. But in a
Yeah.
situation where Johnny Marr happened to be playing guitar as a guest on their album, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
when he was doing the guest part, he just gave him the guitar, and he was like, "Oh, uh-huh." He's like, "Yeah, you can have that back." But anyway, yeah, is that kind of like how you got into them then? Is that
Yeah,
like
probably. I can't remember, but yeah, you're probably right. I know Noel used to mention Johnny Marr quite a lot.
yeah?
I don't remember when I first heard the Smiths, but I just remember loving them straight away. Yeah, so I can't pin it down, but it was a long time ago.
Was it like this is a bit of a weird question, but I'm just gonna be real. When I discovered them, I remember like listening to them when I was very young, but not really kind of putting the name to a face, that kind of thing. And then in more recent years, probably like 5 or 10 years ago, there was that moment of like discovering a couple of their songs and just falling in love, like just like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like every
yeah,
song is amazing.
yeah. I think it was the same for me. Like you say, you first hear them, and then yeah, when you're young, when you're coming up in music or whatever, and then yeah, one day you just hear a track. I can't actually remember my journey into loving them. I think the first song I heard was Panic. Actually, I'd say pretty fair. Which it's not one of the best necessarily, but I liked Panic. And then yeah, I mean, as a guitar player, when you hear anything that Johnny Marr's done, you just hear it and you just I remember hearing William is really nothing. William is really nothing, and you just hear that. You hear that guitar part, and instantly you become obsessed instantly. If you're a guitar player and you hear the complexity of what he's doing, and you're always trying to push yourself, you just naturally gravitate to them.
I do feel as well that like it changed when you become a musician, the way that you listen to albums, the way you approach music is different from there on. Like, do you have the
Yeah.
thing, like I have this thing where if if I go to a gig and I watch a band play live, even if they're the best band ever, or it doesn't matter who they are, I just sit there like, that's out of tune. That's wrong. And I'm not even trying to be a dick about it. I'm not sitting there. It's just that if I hear it, I can't unhear it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. See, when I listen to music, for me, it's more of a feeling that I get. I'm never, and this is why I mess up words a lot in my covers, because I just feel it. It's really weird to say, but I'm not so focused on like whether the right notes. Like a lot of times, I'll watch something on YouTube, or I'll go to a gig. Like I went to Oasis in Sheffield 2005, and then everyone was like, "Oh, Liam's voice was, I won't say the word, terrible tonight." And I was thinking to myself, I just didn't even notice. I was just like watching him, like, whoa. And I just felt his energy. And to me, I know that sounds really like, what's the word? It sounds like I'm making it up and I'm just saying that. But I promise you, that's how I feel generally. I get so into the zone, I don't even notice stuff like that myself, personally.
No, I get what you mean. I mean, the first time that I saw Metallica live in concert, it was similar. Like, I was already a musician by that point. And I remember thinking, like, part of my mind, a small part of my mind was like, oh, it's not like their greatest live set ever. And like, they're a bit older and such. But like, the bigger part of me was so blown away by like how massive it was and how intense it was. And because for them, they really make a big deal of like the spectacle and the performance aspect.
Yeah.
I was the same as you. I was blown away, and I still am. I think what I meant more was just like, I feel like a lot of people that I speak to that aren't musicians, if I would say that to them, like if I turn to a friend and be like, "Oh, that was out of tune," like just as a joke, they won't hear that. But I feel like other musicians will hear it like that.
I see what you're saying. You're more tuned into the musicianship. Yeah, definitely.
It's like a blessing and a curse. It's like a good thing because it means any other musician you can kind of speak to and you connect with instantly. But at the same time, it's a curse because it's like you can't unhear that, and it's like, oh, God damn it! Like, it doesn't matter. It's
yeah. See, I'm like that with my own stuff. When I listen to other people's stuff, I'm never judgmental. But oh God, everything that I do, you know, it's always sounds okay at the time, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, that was terrible. You know, even some of the covers that gain momentum now, when I watch them, all I can see is what I did wrong, and I'm like, I hear these notes and I hear the things I did wrong. And no one else ever comments on them, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
It's natural progression, actually. Although I know that feeling. Like I can remember times when I was very young in my first band, and I'd come off stage just like upset, like, oh, that was out of tune, that was bad. And then I'd go to a friend of like another band, and I'd be like, oh, that was terrible. Did you hear that? And he's like, hear what? Like,
yeah. I've had that experience, definitely. Yeah, I used to be in a theatre show.
Oh, cool.
Funny enough, it was a Michael Jackson tribute show back in about 12 years ago, and I went to audition. It was in Blackpool in the Globe Theatre, so it was a big production. And I joined late. I was the last person to join the cast, and I went in and I auditioned live to the song. So I was playing the Beat It solo, and then after that, I was just doing some riffing basically on electric.
Oh, cool.
And I swear to God, I messed it up. Like, honestly, if you'd heard what I did, you would have probably laughed. But I did it, and I just thought, honestly, the feeling in my stomach, I felt sick. There were like celebrities, you know, singers that were doing the show as well.
Oh, wow. And
I thought, how embarrassing, I've just played terribly. And afterwards, the director come up to me and was like, that was amazing. I'm so glad we got you on board. You're going to make it. And I was like, what? Excuse me? Like, what I just did was just like, to me, it was the worst thing ever.
Let me guess. You messed the verse up, but you improvised and you just got through. Like you just got through it and got through it.
Yeah, I just battled through it. But then, to me, inside, honestly, my hand was shaking like this. But I think part of being an artist is being very self-critical, because you have to be that to a degree to be able to progress to the level you want to get to. You have to be focused on what you can improve, you know. I don't think you can really settle, really.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I have the exact same mindset as you. I think I'm definitely my own worst critic with everything I do. But like, given that that's the case, like, how do you deal with criticisms you get from, I don't know, maybe from people on YouTube or other people in the industry? Like, how do you deal with that in general? Like, what's your approach to criticism?
I listen to it, and if it's something that I've already thought myself, because most stuff I've already thought about myself anyway, so by the time someone else says it, I'm already like that, and I'm like, yeah, I know, yeah, thank you. So, do you know what? I absolutely am fine with criticism as long as it's justified, as long as it's warranted. Like, you know, I'll get the odd comment saying that's out of time, you're not playing perfect rhythm, you need to practice with a metronome. You know, that's totally wrong. And some of the things I'm like, actually, he's right. I can hear that. And genuinely, there's even been comments I've responded to where I've been like, yeah, you're right, actually. And, you know, nothing's ever going to be perfect when you do it down. But when you get comments that are just, they're not true. That's just easy for me to say. It's not even true, you know. But lucky for me, I've been massively blessed to have a lot of positivity towards what I've done. So for me, you know, if it was a lot of negativity compared to barely any positive, I might struggle. But I find the ratio is pretty good. I can't complain, you know.
I feel like that's tricky when you do start, you know, like for instance, with me, I'm starting to get more positivity now, but it was like a long time of like apathy and then lots of hate. and then eventually some positives. But I feel like it's largely outweighed by apathy and hate. And then, but if anything, I prefer hate to apathy. I think apathy is the worst, when you put something out and it just gets nothing. It's like,
oh yeah,
oh,
believe me, you can look at my channel now and think I'm doing okay. I remember I started posting videos on Facebook first in about 2015. Yeah,
okay.
that's when I very first started. I was posting about 2015. First, I just started posting with my family and friends. Crickets, literally crickets. No one cared. Maybe one like from my aunt in America, because she was proud of me and she hadn't seen me in some years. Nobody cared at all, and that went on for about 2.5 years. But I still kept putting them out there because I was enjoying it. And then even on YouTube, it took a good 3 years for me to get anywhere on YouTube, I would say.
So did you start because this was going to be one of the questions I was going to ask you, actually. So you started with the Facebook. How long after that did you set up the YouTube?
I think I set up the YouTube. I set up YouTube in about probably 2015 as well.
Right.
And at the time I was just posting metal stuff, actually, because I used to, I still am massively into metal. I've seen Metallica as well, by the way, at Wembley Stadium. And yes, you're right. It just blows your mind.
Yeah, I would just cut in there as well, because I find this really interesting. I started out in metal, like playing in metal bands, right? And then somewhere in like 2013, when I sort of stopped being in bands and I was sort of forced to do acoustic, suddenly it was like acoustic from there on. And then ever since then, it's been acoustic, indie, experimental, all this other stuff. And I still love metal as well, but it's like such an interesting transition. It's like so...
It is. I think for me, it was because I started learning guitar in like the 90s. And funny enough, one of the first albums that I started to learn, well, the first tab book I got was Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was bought for me as a Christmas present, so I just started learning it because it's the only thing I had. I didn't know about Ultimate Guitar or whatever back then. I was just my dad gave me a guitar.
Were the tabs correct? Because I find like a lot of tab books are incorrect.
Oh, looking back, probably not. No, probably not. Although this was an official one, though. This was an official one.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, apparently sometimes even the official ones aren't correct. Like we're talking about Metallica. Probably, apparently some of the bass tabs are wrong for Metallica ones and stuff.
See, back then, I wish I had a little smartphone because I could listen back to what I was playing and see. I mean, at the time, I thought I was doing all right, but maybe looking back, they were completely wrong. But yeah, so yeah, for me, I started progressing, and then my friend showed me it was in the late 90s when Papa Roach, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, all these bands were around, and my mate showed me that. What song was it he played? Last Resort. Do you remember Last Resort by Papa Roach?
Cut my life into pieces.
Yeah, well, my friend could play that riff. And I was like, whoa. Like, at that time, I was only just learning chords. So it blew my mind. And then from that point, I was like, okay, let me try and do that. And then I listened to them. And then, I went to college, did a music course there. And the teacher played Unbroken by Pantera one day.
Okay, yeah.
That was part of our music lesson because he was a metalhead. I heard that and
You're
I was
so
like,
lucky.
Right, how do I do that? So I started doing that, and then, I went on to, and then Killswitch Engage were getting big at the time, and Machine Head, and I was like, okay, how do I do that? And it just, because you're trying to learn an instrument, it gets progressively harder and harder and harder. And I think that's why I went down that route. But I mean, I love the music, obviously, it's insane. But I think I've forgotten the question now. What was I even trying to answer there?
That's fine. We'll get back to that. Although I will say that, like, I'm very jealous of your music education at school, because mine was nothing like that. Like I was growing up on metal and rock and all of that stuff. But like my music lessons, I went in there thinking like, oh, this would be great. I love music. I'll get to learn and all this stuff. And it was literally just fucking keyboards for 3 years. And very little, like mostly theory, really like music theory, but not like interesting music theory where you learn something. It was like, I don't know, connecting like Indian classical music to, and like the history of it, and which is fine. It was like initially interesting, but then it got like really boring because we would never experiment or do anything other than that. And then occasionally you'd have like that lesson where everyone sits in a circle and just like hit some fucking, I don't know, toms or whatever.
Oh yeah.
African drums and shit.
No, do you know what? My music education at school was probably like that, but for some reason, I went to college and decided that I wanted to do a music course.
Oh,
so I did something
okay.
called,
Sorry, I've misunderstood.
Yeah,
that
so
then.
I did something called access to music, and it was called Contemporary Popular Music was the name of the course. I don't know why I decided to do that, but I did.
Hey, it makes perfect sense if you're into music to do a music course.
I don't even think at that time, I was just a basic guitar player. I don't know. I love music, but I don't know why I thought I could do it. But I did an audition and I got in. And then I had to play a song in front of like the guy, actually, the same guy. And I just played some little jazz thing I'd learned on this DVD. And I got in. And then from there, it just went, you know, like, it just, everything built from there, I think. It's funny looking back at it, actually.
It is like how the journey progresses and where it takes you. I often think that about my music taste these days. I mean, I'm into like literally everything, all different genres, everything. And just like the creative stuff is interesting because now I've started writing music again. Just started writing some stuff for an upcoming EP. And like I'm listening back to like what I did with my last solo EP. And it's just so different. So I don't know. I think these things do change over time and your ideas, but certainly the things you listen to largely shape what you do. And
So like you say, bringing it back, like you say, I think that's what happened. So I was used to playing complicated metal riffs and stuff. At this time, I was obviously going to see Oasis. I was still into this stuff at the same time. But I think, like you say, when I maybe got older, was just more confined to my bedroom playing with an acoustic guitar, you know, and then you hear the Smiths and you hear the stuff Johnny Marr's doing, which is easily as complicated as the stuff you're hearing on metal records. When you try and play that stuff, it was just a natural, like, whoa, you know. So,
What do you think are like the key things that you've learned in this time? Because obviously, you know, you started with just uploading a couple of videos here and there on Facebook and YouTube. And then, as you said, it took you like 3 years to really get some steam going on YouTube. So like in this period, let's call it the last 5 years. What are the key things that you've learned in that time about both, you know, releasing things on YouTube and also just in terms of your music? Like, what are the key lessons?
Good question. I don't know if I know the answer, to be honest. Like I say, like it's weird because in terms of YouTube, like I say, let me answer the last question briefly and just say I was uploading like metal stuff. I was uploading random little clips. And then the moment it started to change somewhat, I might have had about 50 subscribers maybe at the time. Maybe not even that. And Liam Gallagher brought out his album, what's it called?
It's his first solo album, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've covered every song on the album almost. Do you think I know what the name of it was?
Oh,
Is it?
God.
It wasn't As You Were. It was the one before it. I'm going crazy. You know the album I'm talking about anyway, don't you?
I know. I remember it got a lot of publicity. And it was just interesting because it was obviously... It sounds really obvious to say, but Liam had never done solo stuff before. Noel had always done solo stuff.
But
this was Liam's first outing, and it was very. Actually, no, I tell a lie. No, he had his own band, but this was still his first record under his name solely.
Exactly. Yeah, so he was with BDI in the meantime, and then he had a couple of years off.
That's right. Yeah.
I better not let anyone that I know that likes Liam Gallagher listen to this because I can't believe the name escapes me. But anyway,
I'm living in Manchester now, so that's probably like sacrilege not knowing this information.
We'll edit this part out. Now we'll play a track from Liam Gallagher and then just go over the top. Yeah, but point being, anyway, regardless of what the name of the album was, a great album. I remember I heard, actually, he did a gig, and then on that gig, he played some Oasis songs, and then I heard Paper Crown. He did Paper Crown in the gig. And I heard Paper Crown, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. It's like the best thing I've heard since Oasis, especially definitely from Liam. Well, I did like some BDI songs. And I didn't expect anyone to watch my video, but I learned it straight away. The day of the gig, I was at my mum's and I played the guitar, learned it. I uploaded a video like the next morning.
Oh, wow.
I had this idea in my head that I wanted to be the first one to upload it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So I uploaded it, and then the video got instantly about 13,000 views in like 2 days because everyone's heard the song and going mad for it. But even at that time, I got a couple of hundred subscribers, maybe I got 100 or so at the time. And that was amazing. So I thought, oh, and then I heard the other songs on the album. I was like, well, let me try that. So I got into doing that. And then by the end of it, I'd almost covered the whole album. At that point, I started to gain like maybe 200, I would say I was probably on about 350 subs by the end of this. So that was my first kind of lesson that, like, you know, if you're going to upload something, and people respond well to it.
Okay,
yeah, people respond well to it and they like it, then stick with that theme, you know.
Right.
So I did the whole album. I mean, I did the whole album because I wanted to do it anyway, but then I started uploading Oasis songs and the momentum started to like slowly build from there, I would say. So
okay.
The first key lesson I learned there is, you know, if you get people, sorry to stop you, if you get people like interested in something, then you should stick with that theme, you know, and go with that for a while. Go on, you want to say something? Sorry.
Oh no, the only reason I sometimes do this is just if I think of an interesting follow-up. I was just literally going to say, did you get a lot of start getting a lot of requests from your fans from that point onwards? Is that when that started?
Yeah, here and there. I mean, this is looking back on it now. I mean, you know, at the time it was like the big. I couldn't believe that 5 people commented on my video. To me, that was mental, and I was loving it. But yeah, I got the odd requests here and there, and then I started doing a lot of Oasis songs. Did a couple of BDI songs, did some Noel songs. And then around that point, somebody contacted me on YouTube and said, oh, there's a group on Facebook called Pete's Musical Oasis. And he's a guy who did YouTube tutorials on Oasis songs. And I joined that. And then that was another big part for me as well. I guess the key point you could call there was like sharing other platforms. I don't know, but I joined this Facebook group. And we used to share all our YouTube videos in them, and everyone, it was like a supportive community where everyone goes to watch each other's videos, comments on each other's videos. Yeah, that was quite a big part of the development, I think, as well.
Are you still part of this? Because I had this question written down, actually. It's also known as PMO Lads.
How do you know about it? Yeah, PMO, yeah.
Because the way I discovered this was when I was looking on your Spotify and stuff, it was listed as a playlist. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then it's obviously a collection of different musicians all in one place. So I figured it was probably like, as you say, like a community. But yeah, so it's different solo musicians supporting each other, essentially.
Yeah, not all musicians. It's just a place for people who like to play guitar, want to express themselves. I mean, it was a private group at the time.
Right.
So yeah, so like you say, it was just a like-minded group of people. That was actually the more I talk about it, that was massive, because you start to build relationships with people, which is one thing I've noticed is very, 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 very important.
Yes.
As well as good at playing guitar, singing, you need to get on with people, and it was decent there because, like I say, you've got natural support. Every time you release a video, you know there's going to be 20, 30 people, because you're commenting on their videos as well, that are all going to comment, all going to like it. Some of them might share it to their friends on their Facebook. So that was really good. I'm not on it anymore, to answer your question, because I'm not on Facebook at all. I quit Facebook, but
all right. How comes?
Started to get a bit dark around the lockdown starting, to be honest. Sort of things that people's attitudes and things people were saying got very political, and it was time for me to go.
Yeah, that's always time to dart out, isn't it, when that starts happening?
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I only use Facebook purely as an advertising tool and to keep in touch with family and friends now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
might
Good
should
shout.
share the odd meme, but other than that, just
Mhm.
yeah. But fair play, man, fair play. Moving it forward, given that we've spoken a lot about, you know, you doing your covers and how that sort of happened and why you do that, would you
Yeah.
say you've had much sort of success with promoting your original music, given that, you know, your I suppose like fan base on YouTube is largely built from that expectation
Mhm.
of those
From the
covers?
covers.
Because obviously
Yeah.
I've heard other musicians who you know who regularly do this have kind of said that sometimes they get, you know, a bit of pushback, like people go like, oh, I don't want to hear this, like when you're going to do your covers instead.
Yeah.
What's the general kind of reception to you releasing original music?
Pretty much exactly what you said. Yeah, definitely. I think I'm definitely known and liked way more for my. Don't get me wrong. I mean, outside of the internet world, the magical world of the internet, I do, not since lockdown, but I do gigs. You know, I've been offered gigs loads of times just to play purely originals. You know,
Oh,
so in the
fantastic.
real world, I'm probably more well known for my original music than my covers, but the covers thing started on YouTube really just because I always had this idea that, like, if I get big on YouTube through covers, then I'll post an original song, and then when I post my original song,
Yeah.
all these thousands of people will be like, "Oh my god!" You know,
Right.
that was
Yeah.
in my head. I was guaranteed that was going to happen. I knew it, and then reality set in, and people like the covers more, which is fine, to be honest, because I don't mind. You know, now I'm kind of happy to just. I just like people listening to what I'm doing
Right.
and people enjoying it, regardless of whether I wrote it or not. You know, it's all good for me. So,
But with what you're saying, it's not like you're saying that they hate your original music; they just prefer the covers. So that would
yeah, yeah,
imply that there
prefer.
is some positivity there. So what's the general
Oh
kind of
yeah,
feedback you're getting for your original music?
good. People love it. People really love it. I mean, I've had one of my songs. My recent song was played on my local radio station.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, a few times. It's track of the week, and like I did. They've got me down for like future events and stuff. I mean, my original music does do okay. Funny enough, actually, before anything on YouTube ever took off, somehow a page with 1 million followers on Facebook found one of my original songs and shared it
Oh,
on
fantastic!
Facebook.
Yeah.
And it got like however many hundreds of thousands of views there, and didn't get any on YouTube. Obviously,
Oh,
classic.
typical. That's
Yeah, so
typical.
my first actual like sort of notice sort of me taking off was through my original music. So I would definitely say like people don't dislike it. It's obviously very different from the bands that I cover, because that's just the way things are, isn't it? You know, you just make what you make.
Right.
You can't just copy. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not just going to copy what I get popular covers. You know, I'm just going to do what I think sounds good. So yeah,
Respect
it's
that.
a mixed
That's
bag,
yeah.
but yeah.
That's the attitude I have actually. I've kind of gone like full throttle with my podcast because this was something I started just randomly. I'd done podcasts before, and I was like, you know, I had a podcast end, and then I was like, should I do my own? I've been thinking about this. I don't know. As soon as I
Yeah,
started
yeah,
doing it, it was people seem to dig it, and the more I do,
yeah,
the more positive it is. So I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I think if you find something, like roll with it, like do what you want, do what you love, but ultimately
yeah,
mainly push the thing that's doing that people respond to the most, I suppose.
yeah. And do you know what I think? I know there's integrity and all this stuff as well, but at the end of the day, the chances of making it, there's so many incredible musicians, like, you know, us included in that. Like, I'm not bigging myself up, but, you know, in terms of like, I know a lot of people that just play open mic nights and in pubs who, for me, they're way better than people that I'm hearing on the radio. But the chance of making it in music is so minutely slim that if you start to build momentum in something, you start to, you know, get positive feedback. If you've got a chance of making it in some way, you should just go with what's working well, I think, because the music might never happen. It's always a passion. I personally don't. I don't really care to be a famous musician.
Yep.
I would just want to make the music I like, and put it out there. And if a couple of people like it, then that's wicked. But I don't want to be in the charts or, you know, all this stuff necessarily. So, you know, I'm quite happy for me to go with what works. I'm not going to turn down a top 10 album, you know, but it's not my ultimate goal as such.
No, I agree with you. I used to, years ago, I used to have that attitude, like I'm sure many musicians do when they start out, like, yeah, I want to be really famous, successful, everything.
Yeah.
And then you actually, yeah, the realization sits in. You play a couple of hundred gigs, you see,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, I think when you start playing, because this is the reality, when you start out as a musician, you're playing to no one.
Oh,
I remember my last show with my my first metal band. Literally, we played to the fucking sound engineer and my ex-girlfriend. That was it. That was how we went out. And we played our hearts out and everything. But given that we played together for like 3 years, all sorts of different venues, I think on average, we'd be lucky to get a couple of people in there. And that's the reality of the gigging circuit when you're starting out. And you just have to keep at it. You have to keep pushing for it. But I think that, you know, I came across a lot of bands that, particularly, and for metal, you know, it's arguably even more oversaturated in many ways because everyone kind of sounds the same, so it's very difficult to stick out. But I saw some bands that could definitely make it, and they just didn't for whatever reason. And I kind of put it down to this. I think in general with music, it comes down to who you know. You know, like, if you can get an industry contact, just fucking run with it. Don't worry about like integrity or like, you know, or should I or shouldn't I? Just, if you have the contact, ask them. Just see what happens. That's number one. And then number two, I think it's a combination of like luck, having the right look and shit. And this is where I agree with you with the whole not caring about becoming big. Because like for me, I don't really buy into the idea of doing it, you know, via the pop charts or like with me, my goal is to do like independent music, and if it gets big or whatever, but I want to do it independently. I don't want to have anyone owning it or anyone controlling it, because I think it's bollocks. And this, funnily enough, leads me into a random question I was going to ask you, because I thought this was interesting to get your opinion on this as a fellow musician. Like, what are your thoughts on like talent shows like Britain's Got Talent and X Factor? Because to be honest, you know, you're a very talented musician. You could go on there. I've thought about it, you know, over the years. But I think the main thing that puts me off is just how it's kind of a spectacle, and not in the good way. You know, it's like you go on there and it's not about your talent. It's about, can you sell their TV show? Are you entertaining? Do you fit their mold? You know, like very few musicians on there actually make it and are continuously successful. Normally it's like a couple of years or a year, and then that's it. They throw you out and, you know.
I mean, that is true. That is true. But, you know, funny enough, like the music business can be like that as well, you know. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Like, you know, you kind of have to be an entertainer and have a story to you and a spectacle as well. So I don't think it's actually that far removed from the reality of the music industry. I'm sure there's people out there that are way better musicians that aren't famous.
Yes.
However, what was my view on the talent shows? When I was a bit younger, actually, when I was very young and they first started, I loved them.
Yeah.
I thought they're brilliant. I love seeing people sing on my TV, you know, and it was funny as well at the time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I got into that age where I just found it totally cringe. And a lot of people were saying to me, you should go on Britain's Got Talent, you should go on X Factor. As people still say it to me today, and I was like, mate, you will never see me dead on X Factor. But over my dead body, you know. I would never sell out my soul, you know. And then, obviously, you know, the years went by, and I probably lie somewhere in between the two now. I don't watch them necessarily. I'm not against them as such. I think my biggest problem with going on there would be what you said, is that actually my biggest problem with going on there would be that I would always be the guy from X Factor or the guy from Britain Got Talent. Yeah. If I ever got anywhere, it wouldn't be like, you know, oh, Adam Barrett, he's a really good musician. It'd be like, oh, Adam Barrett, I mean, yeah, do you remember him? He won X Factor, yeah. And I don't want that attached to me. I wouldn't want that stigma attached to my name. That would be the worst thing for me. But I mean, I'm sure it has done good for people who've gone on there, people like me and you who've considered it and gone on there. Even if they haven't become famous, I'm sure their profile raised a bit, you know.
I just think that like it is fine if you don't care about the whole manufactured thing and you're happy to just toe the line and do what you're told, then great. But like I very rarely can I think of an example of a genuinely good song that came out of like an X Factor winner or like a runner up or something. Like the only musician that I really dug at one time was probably that James Arthur guy. And then I started, that's the thing. But I feel like when he went on that show, he was like you and me. He'd been doing it for years. He had a raw talent. He was a good songwriter. Like he came on there, he wrote an original song and it was excellent. And now he's doing the pop thing, and it's like I feel like what was special about him is now gone. It's like it's not the same anymore.
Yeah, I get you. He probably had the same mindset though. He probably went for it, and then it was going well, and he thought, "I'll run with it because this might be my only chance ever to do anything." Do you know what? This brings me on to another thing. I think there's a lot of people get down on musicians for the type of music they play, and you know they might see like Ariana Grande in a Nirvana shirt and be like, "How dare you? You're disgusting. Name me 5 Nirvana songs. You don't even know." But you don't know what people really, you know, are listening to and playing behind closed doors and what they're fans of. So,
but see, that's the danger. You see, right there, what you're saying. If you're like a band that's known, okay, let's say you come up on your own accord. You don't have that expectation. You don't have that label attached to you, like Ariana Grande. If she like you say, she might be into all sorts of things, and she's somehow not allowed to play those things. Whereas I feel like if you come up on your own accord and like make it yourself, you can kind of do whatever you want, you know, to an extent.
Yeah.
And like there are certain musicians that, you know, like if you take someone like Post Malone as an example, you know, he regularly plays like rock music, and no one like you get a few people that are like, what? But the difference with him is that he was really slogging it for many, many years, and he came up and he got his opportunity and he rolled with it. But he's very vocal about liking all types of music and does it and does it well, I think. But you know,
but like you say, I think that's part of the industry. I think the industry making it. I don't think it's necessarily what musicians might think it is in terms of, you know, you keep your integrity the whole way. I mean, John Lennon used to say that the things he was subjected to being part of the Beatles and becoming famous were so soul destroying and so, you know, so that like they literally stole his soul from him. He was miserable by the time Help came out. He was depressed. He was totally like, you know, and even he used to say, we've sold out. We're nothing like we used to be. I mean, we look up to the Beatles and we're like, you know, best thing ever happened. But I think the music industry, it's you don't have nowhere near as much as control as what we might want there to be and we might dream of when we think of being a musician. So I actually think being an unsigned independent musician isn't as bad as what the stigma that surrounds it. You know,
I agree.
As long as you can stick to the things you want to do and put out what you want to do, that's the ultimate power, isn't it?
This is the key. This is kind of what I wanted to allude to as well, because I feel like a lot of even big musicians are trying to make that move. Like Metallica did it back in somewhere in the mid 2010s. They created their own record label and moved everything to that because they wanted to own their music. And everyone's like, what do you mean? They didn't own their music? No, they didn't. The record company owned their music. Like with that comes many things. It's not just about not owning your music and not making the full extent of the money that you're owed from it, but also there's an expectation, you know, like the record companies will be like, right, you have to create 3 albums in 5 years as part of our contract. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
not everyone's creative process works that way. Some people
Yeah.
take longer. Some people can put out music regularly. You know, like for
Yeah.
instance, recently the Spotify CEO said that bullshit about like, you know, musicians should be making music more regularly and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, you're so out of touch. You have no idea how
Yeah.
this works.
Yeah. Exactly.
But whatever.
I feel like the only person like that in music, even he doesn't make, like, I know everyone hates Ed Sheeran. I know everyone hates Ed Sheeran. I get it. I
Do
get
they?
it as well. I think they do. Yeah, a lot of the people I know do.
Wow.
I love the stuff that he did before he was famous, and
Yeah,
the Plus album, and around that time, the folk music that he was making is so good. But I feel like he might be the only one who still regains some control over what he releases and when he releases it, because he's strayed a little bit in recent years, but he's taken these gaps for, like, 2 years before he makes an album. I wonder if he's kept some of his control, maybe. He seems like he might have, to a degree.
I think so, yeah. I mean, because like there are musicians that do it. I know Mac DeMarco is another example of a musician who's done that. And there were many people who, because he released an album in 2019, and that was the first one that was under independent, and there was a drastic difference in the sound and the theme, I guess. And there was a lot of people critics who were just kind of like, maybe this isn't a good idea for them to be independent. Maybe there should be like some degree of control over it. But I think the key thing is, like, if the musician gets to do whatever they want, it can only be good for the music. But at the same time, you do need some people around you saying like, this is a bad idea. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you shouldn't do that. But not people who get so much of a say that like they can like change the direction of the music completely when they have nothing to do with it. Like if they're involved in some way, I think it's a good thing. But if it's like record executives who just are seeing dollar signs and they don't care about the creative direction, that's, I think, the wider issue there.
Definitely, yeah.
Anyway, let's bring it back to you, because it's about you. You started releasing your music in a more professional capacity via Spotify back in 2018. Was it difficult to get on there? Talk to us a little bit about the process of getting on Spotify, because I've managed to do it for my podcast, but that was kind of through a distributor and I was able to do it for free and stuff. But for music, I understand it's a little bit trickier. It's not as straightforward. Like, how did you achieve that?
Is it? if I'm totally honest with you, it was just a case of me, going for a distributor and just uploading it.
Okay.
There was no other. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe someone behind the scenes gave me a little leg up or something. But as far as I know, I just put my stuff on there. I paid for the right to put it on there, and I put it on there.
Right. So you do have to pay to do it then? Is it like a
license? Yeah, of course. Yeah. This is a paid membership. Yeah. So.
Okay.
I don't have any sort of interest from people who are putting it on there for me now.
So what is that, like a monthly or yearly?
I feel like I should now. Who can I get it for free from?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think you can if it's music. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
But do you pay like regularly for that then, or is that just a one-off thing and now your music's always there? Or?
Yeah, it's just a yearly membership through. Do I say the name?
You don't have to give me detail. I was just curious about like the process, to be honest, like how that works.
Yeah. Literally, you pay for a membership, upload music. I've got a covers license, so I can put covers on there as well. Pay a little bit more for that, which I'm going to do soon, actually. People at home, I'm going to be putting a covers album out. But anyway, Well, that's how I do it.
That fits in nicely as a segue to what I wanted to ask you next. Like, given that we've had more time in the lockdown, like I know that you work full time and such, but have you had more time to kind of work on your own music because of the lockdown? And are we going to be seeing some more kind of original music from you as well as the covers, or is the covers the main thing that we're looking at the moment?
Very good question. I had an album planned to come out this year. The time that I had it, the time I came up with the idea and I wrote all the songs and stuff, I only had about 800 subscribers or so, maybe, I say only, that was brilliant, but compared to now, it's, you know.
What you at now?
And
You're close to about 2K or something.
almost 13, I think, thousand.
13K.
I think I'm like 12.5, something like that at the minute.
That's gone up
Yeah,
since the last time I went on your channel. Jesus. God
yeah,
damn.
I'm getting about 200 a day, so I'll be at
Oh
13
wow.
in a few days. Yeah, but I know it's mad. It took me, I think, 3.5 years to get to 1,000, and it's taken me how long? 5 extra months to get to 12 or 13.
It's all the time in lockdown. Everyone's got all the time in the world, and they're like, "Hey, who's this guy that I keep getting recommended? Oh my
Yeah,
god, this guy is amazing."
yeah. Do you know? I get a lot of comments actually from people that are just like, I thought it was going to be crap, and then I listened to it and it was really good, and I'm just like, thanks.
To be
Thanks for
honest,
your honesty.
ever since I saw Susan Boyle on that talent show, I never make that error. I mean, it's shitty to judge people on the way they look anyway, but like it has fuck all to do
Yeah.
with musical talent. It's like,
Oh yeah.
like what? But like in
Yeah.
general, it's like I always just sit there and just go, right, let's see what they have to offer, and it's I suppose you
Yeah.
can go either way, but I think a big giveaway as well is like how someone records something. So like
Yes.
the equipment
Yeah.
you use, and like because I see sometimes like if it's going to be bad, it will usually be like the person hasn't like not necessarily like it's bad quality camera or something, but like more like how they've chosen to film it. Like if they do it like portrait, they've set it somewhere, and it's, do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this person knows what they're doing, and yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I have to make those judgments today. You, as a human being, you have to make some judgments on what you think is going to be good,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
impossible not to.
why it's important to try and present your thumbnails and stuff like that for any aspiring YouTube people. It is important to do that stuff. Yeah. What was the question?
Well, actually, it was regarding your upcoming music. I've got a lot of
Oh yeah.
questions here. I mean, your most recent track that you released was "They Wanted It All," which you released on June 14th,
Oh
together with
yeah, that was just a demo. Yeah.
right. And well, this is the thing. Like, they're all listed as demos, but they're good quality, like production wise. They're solid stuff. It gives a good idea of kind of like the type of music that you're going for. And
Mm.
it like the question I have here is, like, can we expect an EP in 2020, given that, that's the last time we got music from you? So
Yeah, so that's the tricky thing because I had this idea that I was going to record. I've got about 20 songs or so or
okay.
more, and I was going to put them on an album, and I was so set on doing it. And then all of a sudden, my YouTube went crazy, and I got 300,000 views on one video, and then somebody on Reddit told me, "You're doing so well on the amount of numbers you're getting for covers is crazy. Why don't you put them on Spotify?" And there's loads of people in the comments were saying, "Put them on Spotify. I want to listen to it wherever I go." And I thought, maybe I should focus on doing that, because again, it's that argument of, if I've got a wave and I want to ride it for a little bit, I can put my originals album out in 2 years' time. In 2 years' time with the covers, no one might care anymore. So,
you could kind of do a mixture, so like have like an original album that features a couple of covers on it, and do it that way.
I thought about that. I came up with a concept actually for an album called 50/50, where I'd have 50% original songs and 50% covers. I thought about that as well, but the only problem is some of my originals are recorded in a studio with proper producers, and then the covers, because we're in lockdown, is not going to happen. So there's going to be a blatant mismatch of professional studio recorded songs and then little home demo acoustic ones. So the verdict is still out on whether I'll have an album out really at the moment. We'll have to see. I'm not going to lie to you though, I'm going to ride this wave of the covers thing probably more prominently now. Until 3 weeks when they've forgotten about me and someone else comes along, and then I'll get back onto the original stuff.
It's like I was saying to you before, earlier in the conversation we were talking about. It's like riding this wave. I think it's you go with what's working. Go with what's popping off the most, and
Yeah.
I don't think you can go wrong, really, especially if your audience is kind of saying like, hey, we want this, give us more of this. It's like, you'd be crazy
Yeah.
not to.
And a point just to say as well, it's not like I'm just doing this and like, oh yeah, that's going to make me money, so I'm going to do that. I actually enjoy it. The stuff that I'm
Right.
being asked to do is a passion of mine as well. I love working out how other people play songs or doing my own arrangements. So really, it's not even like I'm just like, oh, I really want to get my originals out there, but they want to cover Wannabe by Spice Girls. I just, there's so much money doing it. I've got to do it. It's
Is
not
that
like that.
is that a cover you've done, by the way?
Not online. No, I've not done
I
that.
want to see that. That would be amazing.
I can do a mean version of Baby One More Time by Britney Spears.
Hey, I
So
want to see it, man. We all want to
I
see
can do
that.
that. I'll probably get 13,000 unfollows if I do that, but
Nah, yeah, I know. I can like, given what I've heard already, I can tell that you'd rock that, and it sounds sick. And I know everyone that is going to watch this would agree with me on that. Like, there's
maybe one day. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, maybe one
yeah, like
day.
if you rework
I
it
might do
with
a
your
Britney
style,
album.
why not?
That'll be my
Fuck it.
release. There you go. That's my release. Christmas. My Christmas Britney album, 2020. Watch this
Yes.
space.
Why not, man? Why not? If it
That's
feels
Britney.
right, go for it. Okay, so let's switch it up a little bit. Like, talk to me a little bit about your day job. You don't have to give me specifics, but like the bigger question I think that's here is like, how do you kind of balance, having that day job and music, and is it difficult to manage? What are the biggest challenges with regards to that?
Yeah, it's difficult to manage. Some of my best ideas come to me when I'm working, which is so annoying. I mean, I've had jobs in the past, which I don't care about saying now because they're gone, where I've just
Sayonara.
sat there and daydreamed writing lyrics to songs, like for like an hour on a post-it note, and then going through it in my head, and then I'm not doing my work. So in
Yeah.
my job in my job that I'm doing now, I actually really enjoy the work, and it's so intense. I work in an analytics role. I'll leave it at that. So it's quite
Okay.
intense. It's quite intense. It's quite mental. So I don't have a lot of mental space to even be drifting off. So it is difficult because I want to spend my time doing music. All I ever want from music, whether it's playing covers or playing in pubs or playing my originals, is just to earn enough so that £2,000 a month, so I don't have to work and I can put more time into it. That is my ultimate goal in life, to earn like £2,000 a month from music. That'd be me sorted. So I think it is difficult because I have this passion, and I always think about how much I could be doing right now. Like, God, this album would be out tomorrow if I wasn't working, and I'd love to do it, but it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. I don't really know what the answer is, how I manage it. I'm not sure I do. I just, whenever I've got free time, I do something, that's all I can do. But I could be doing a lot more if I didn't have this job, definitely.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you because, okay, I'm unemployed right now. I'm freelancing and stuff. So I'm lucky in that sense that I've, been able to put all the time into the YouTube. But like, obviously, there's that worry in the back of my mind that as soon as I find a job, it's going to be really tricky to like find the time. And I'm gonna work my ass off and make sure it happens. But at the same time, it's just going to get more difficult. It's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
But the key thing in the back of my mind is, yeah, same as you. I want to make this my living. What can I do to make this my living? Like, what ways can I, because it's not about the money. Like, the money is the aspect of like, it facilitates the ability to have the life. But like, if you're doing it solely because of the money, then there's no soul in it, and it will be a negative. And yeah, the content will probably be shit, to be honest. If that's the attitude. Many YouTubers, I think, have that problem, unfortunately. But the ones that do it purely for the love, I mean, you can tell because the content is excellent and it's all over their face, right? So yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm the same as you in that regard. I think that it's you got to do what you love, and that's how people are going to relate to you, I think, the best. And I guess my question to you on that topic is like, or two questions. One, if you have that opportunity, let's say like to quit your job and do this full time, Are you taking it straight away? Is it going to be like, let's do it? And also, what would it take? Like, let's say, because you're doing really well right now, right? At what point, or like, how many subscribers do you think it'd take before you're like, okay, yeah, no, I need to just do this. Like, I need to roll with this, take the risk.
Yeah, I've had this conversation recently. See, in my personal life, I've got dependents, you know,
Right.
that I can't do anything silly with. So I don't know, like I've literally had this conversation so many times with my wife.
No, sorry.
No. It's a good question because I think about it all the time. I'm glad you asked. And it's such a hard one to answer because I wish I knew, but we've kind of between us worked out that if I had somewhere between 100,000, 200,000 subscribers, that might be the sort of point where you can think, right, I'm getting enough to kind of, you know, live, you know, comfortably, which is all I want. I don't even want a million. I don't want a million subscribers. I don't want £1 million. I just want to live the life I'm living now, but have the free time to do work.
I have this feeling that you might get to that point, like 1 million, because you're like, oh no, I'm not fussed or whatever. I think it's just going to happen, and it's going to be like that's going to be the struggle for you. Is not so much the getting to the top, but like dealing with the fact that you're at the top. I think that might be the bigger challenge for you in the future. Like,
maybe,
oh shit.
yeah, do you know? Yeah, I don't know, but that would mean just playing covers forever, wouldn't it? Or would it? I don't know. This is the funny thing. I have no idea. I mean, if you'd asked me this, I wouldn't even have been on your podcast 6 months ago. Not because you wouldn't have been interested, just because I had no profile, you know. Right. And it's interesting because I always say to my wife, I don't know what's going to happen in 6 months' time. Like, I've already worked with a producer in LA who, since my channel's taken off, who's literally is a band member and a producer in bands that you will know, big bands. And he's producing tracks for me. And I've had so many people contacting me about stuff, like musicians, producers. I would send me this, and it's like, it does make me wonder what's going to happen in 6 months' time. I would never have dreamed I would even have 10,000 followers. The lockdown has as horrific as it's been, has changed, you know, my course of things. So
this is what makes me think that it's very possible, because when I did my initial research on you, I think you were at like maybe 6K, something like that, like, which is amazing anyway. I mean, I'm struggling to get 500, like, you know? But it is like that. It's like you spend ages at a particular thing and then suddenly it just takes off. And that's huge, because you've done that in lockdown in the space of like a couple of months. So that, like, all it will take is just that one cover, you know, that one chart song that you just put out. You're like, yeah, fuck it, let's just do this. And then suddenly everyone's like, who is this guy? This is amazing. Let's get behind this guy.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think I'm the best out there. You know, I'm very blessed to have people that enjoy what I do. I don't think I'm bad. I'm not putting myself down. I know my abilities, but there are people out there that are killing it. You know, one thing that I'm very insistent on is, I know there's so many songs that I could do that I just know will pop off. You know, but I can't bring myself to do things that I'm not gonna purely love. Right. I can't bring, like, I will only cover a song if I really love it. I have to sit with it. Each cover I do, I really have to listen to it, get it into my head. I have to have either already loved it, or if I don't know it and someone requests it, I have to come to love it, you know. Otherwise, I can't do it. I can't sit there and play something that I don't like. It's never going to work. So I think
that's fair.
Yeah. So I don't know if the taste in music that I have will ever pop off to that level. But we'll see. Who knows?
I think if nothing else, I mean,
I just need to get back together, trend all over the world, and then that would be me sorted, because I'll cover every song they do, because I'm obsessed with them.
I think that's what everyone wants, really. You know, both of those things. But yeah, and Oasis, it's kind of amazing with Oasis. It's like they've literally had talks, and it's like we're talking like tens of millions, and they're still like, nah, nope, nope.
No, they're brothers as well. They've got to patch things up. They've got to do it. some point.
They're apparently on talking terms, which is good. I mean, I think if nothing else, like no one
Yeah.
likes to see people arguing, and family is always a tricky one. So at least they're on talking terms. That's good.
Yeah, I never know what to believe, to be honest with you. I hear all sorts, but I've heard that they've been offered stuff and they're planning to come back next year, but they're not letting anyone know. But who knows? It could be true. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I will say this: like, if that's their plan, then them throwing it off all the time and slagging each other off in public is a great counter marketing strategy.
Yeah,
Because no one will expect it. So, yeah, fair play. But anyway, let's move it forward. I want to ask you, what are your best and worst experiences playing live gigs?
Oh, worst experience.
Yeah, let's go worst and then we'll do best afterwards. So that's a nice little.
Let me work out who's going to watch this, and then I'll say it.
Oh, right.
No, I remember. Okay, our worst experience would be doing a lunchtime pub, just where no one was listening. Literally, no one was listening. And bear in mind, I wasn't the only person gigging that day, and there were other people going on, getting claps afterwards and stuff. And then I went up, and it was just crickets after every song. And I know myself, that I was doing well. And I'd be happy with the performances if I put them online. But for whatever reason, with the crowd, and that was painful. And there were so many moments during that thing where I was thinking, while I'm playing, all I'm thinking in my head is, I'm going to jack this in. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to walk off. I'll just walk off. No one will even notice. While I'm singing a song, I'm going through this in my head. Like, I can literally walk off stage right now. No one will even know I'm off. I think I pushed through it in the end, but yeah, that the one I'm thinking of was horrific. It was in what's that area? Cutty Sark. It was.
Were you playing covers or originals?
Both.
Or both.
Mix of both. Yeah.
Seriously,
Nothing
reaction. Nothing.
No reaction from any song that I did. Nothing. Dead silence.
That's weird.
I know. In fact, there wasn't dead silence. There was people's knives and forks. People were eating as well. So it was like.
Do you know? I think there's just a problem with playing pubs, because I remember when I was gigging in my first band, we only played a pub one time, and I was very strict about us gigging, and I was like, no, we don't play pubs. Like, I've seen that. Fuck that. Like, just no. It's just the wrong atmosphere, because it's fine if you've been hired for the night and everyone's expecting it, but it's a very specific audience, a pub. It's like typically full of regulars, and they're like you say, they just won't react. Even if you do really good covers, they only want to hear what they want to hear, because they're in their mind, I suppose it's like you're the jukebox. But like, I remember the one and only time I played at pub, it was a classic example of like events promoters just fucking it up. The only reason I accepted it was that it was an all-day festival, and I use that term very loosely, where there was bands on from like midday all the way till 2 a.m, so like all day thing. And I think we were like 7 p.m. or something, and I was like, okay, let's give it a go. It's in our local town, fuck it, let's see what happens. Now, we're a heavy metal band, right? Screaming, all of that stuff, right? And the guy that's on before us is like one of those jazz fusion guys, so he's playing just him for like half an hour, would be like one song, and like, it's great stuff, it's good guitar, me and my lead guitarist were like, yeah, it's good, but like, it totally does not set the mood for what's gonna be like a really heavy set. And we come on, and I'm like looking at these people like, I'm gonna scare the shit out of these people. It's just, and literally, we played the whole set. We played half an hour, and they were just horrified. It was like something, and it was like I'd gone up on stage and like throttled a baby or something. They were all just looking at me like, oh my god.
They weren't ready. Like Martin McFly, you're not ready for this. The kids are gonna love it.
I don't think they'll ever be ready for it. And we come off stage, and I'm like, well, okay, just wasn't their thing, right? And then this, I don't even know how to put it. It's a pop band, I guess. Like, they look like hardcore guys, and I was like, oh, well, maybe they're a good band. Let's stick around for them. And then they just played like some pop shit, and I'm like, and they're getting clapped really heavily, and I'm, oh, fuck this, lads. Let's just go. Let's pack this
Yeah.
in.
Do you know, not to discourage anyone watching this, because I've had some amazing receptions at pubs as well, just to throw that out there. In case anyone watches this and was thinking about doing pubs, definitely do it. Character building, it's good practice. But
well, I
yeah.
think I will add to this, actually, that the one benefit of playing pubs is that often you get like open mic nights where there's no expectation from like a promoter to sell a bunch of tickets or something. Like, you can just go up there, play, leave, like, you know, and you probably get clapped. So it's,
Yeah. But song selection is very important in pubs. It really is. You've got to play to the crowd that's there. So I completely understand where you're coming from. I've had days where I've gone in and, you know, I remember once I played Junk by Paul McCartney. I don't know if you know it, but it's one of the most beautiful songs ever written. I just played it at the wrong time, man. Like, people didn't want to hear that. It was like the vibe was up. Everyone was like, yeah, come on, like, let's party. And then I'm like,
oh no.
And it's like, it was a massive error of judgment, and it was just like, I could see on people's faces, it was like I'd just come up and punched them all in the face, like, killed their night. So there's a lesson to be learned there. Yeah, sometimes you can't always tell with a crowd. Like, you can't look at them and know what they want to hear,
right?
But you can sometimes pick up on what other people are doing, or reception. If you're doing covers, a reception to a certain song, and you can try and make a set list up on the fly, because it's a game playing pubs. It really is. It's like a chess game. There's a lot to consider.
Okay, well, let's throw it to a more positive thing, because we took you to your lowest point. Let's go to your highest point. What was your best gig?
Best gig. It's been some good ones. Just trying to think. What would be the best one? There's just been so many moments, you know. I don't know. I've been lucky to get quite a good reception. Actually, my best gig, I would say, was in Essex. I'm from Essex, by the way, just so you know. But I went to a gig. I'd done a gig in Essex. Where was it? Colchester, maybe, or something like that, or Braintree. I can't remember. And I did a gig, and it was like the outdoors of a pub. And I went up there, and I just, for some reason, it was like you said, load of regulars. Loads of like lads like, oh, mate, play Wonderwall, yeah, like, you know, like, it was like, oh god, you know, I was going into it and I was thinking, you know, they're either going to love me or they're going to hate me, because if these people don't like you, they're going to be very vocal about it. They're not going to, just suffer fools gladly, you know. And it just went off. Every song just hit the mark, and it was good. I got offered about 2 or 3 other gigs on that day from doing that. Yeah, it's like just people. And then funny enough, I went to play a gig. I did someone's, what was it? Just someone's back garden. I don't even remember what it was. They was having a party, and I was the musician. Like, while there was a barbecue going on and stuff, and I got that from that gig. So that was, that was definitely one that I look up at as. Just
on a side note, actually, with regards to that, I mean, we spoke about, like, let's say you're popping off, and you know, the YouTube career goes really well, and, you know. You kind of said, like, oh, I don't know if I want to be a covers guy, but you know, one big thing about being a covers guy is you can make a full career out of that, you know, gigging, you know, even like not just on like YouTube and stuff, but like, like playing weddings, parties, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
true,
is that something that you'd be interested in doing?
I don't know. I've played a couple of weddings here and there. Yeah, it's nice and that. I don't know, because even still, as much as I say, you know, I don't care about my music going big and all that stuff, there's still a part of me that kind of wants to be able to, you know, get by on my own merit as such. Right. I mean, like you say, that you've got to go with what's popping off. At the period of my life that I'm in and the responsibilities that I have, if people are going to start offering me money to regularly play covers all the time and I turn it down, that's just irresponsible. So I'm going to do it. Is it my ultimate goal? No, not really. Although my goals are changing all the time. You know, ask me again in 6 months, I don't know, because literally a month ago, nobody knew who I was. And no one knows who I am now. But you know what I mean? Like, it's so much has happened in the last month. I don't even know what's going to, by November, I don't even know where I'm going to be or what I'm going to be doing. So
I'm very excited, I'll be honest. Like, just looking at your numbers already, I mean, it's
Well, let's see what happens. It could all come crashing down tomorrow.
Keep them coming, man. Just keep coming. Keep putting them out there, and you know it will happen. I firmly believe that.
Cheers.
Speaking of which, what advice would you give to musicians and YouTubers that are just starting out right now, who could maybe follow in your footsteps?
Patience. Just be patient. It ain't going to happen overnight. You're going to be there for years. I would say it's going to take... I mean, some people literally post one thing and pops off straight away. Good on you. But the reality is it's going to take a long time. People aren't going to get what you're doing at first. And you've just got to stick with it. And the good thing about YouTube, what's actually brilliant if you use it in the right way, is you can learn from every single video you do. If you actually watch it back and listen, you can hear where you can improve. And you improve it for the next video. And if someone tells you something in a comment like, you should try this, don't just disregard what they're saying. Because I've learned a lot from people following me. I've grown because of people who have helped me to grow as well. You know, some people have been like, when I first started, I wasn't really pronouncing my words that well. And that is something I always get complimented on now. Like, just everything you say is so crystal clear and I can understand every word. Even people from other countries, they really always say that my pronunciation is brilliant. But because somebody said to me on YouTube one time, you know, you slurring your words a bit and you're not. I was like, okay, let me have a look into that. And then I Googled it and I watched a little YouTube lesson on it and I improved on it, you know. So I would just say, just be open to comments, be open to criticism, you know, if it's constructive, and just be prepared to put in that grind, because you might see me having 12,000 subscribers and think, oh, wow, I'm going to upload a cover and I'll get 12,000.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to take a couple of years to build that up. And if you don't love doing it, it's going to feel like hard work, you know. So don't do YouTube just because you want to earn some money, because it's not a big money thing, you know. Just do it because you're passionate about what you do.
You mentioned just there that, you know, you're getting attention from other countries. Is there like particular countries that you're getting like a lot of fans from? Like, where are the main countries that you're getting the most attention from right now?
According to my stats, it's mainly like, I think it's like probably... It's quite a lot of it is the US and UK. They're my two biggest ones. But there's a lot of people from South America, from like Mexico, Brazil. Quite a massive proportion of my comments come from Mexico and Brazil. Yeah, someone told me like, oh, everyone knows who you are over here. They're like, all my friends, people at my school know who you are. Like, everyone listens to you. And I was like, whoa. Wow. That's weird for me. I don't know how many people, you know, maybe it was just stroking my ego. I don't know. But I definitely get a lot of comments from South America. They probably see my little thumb and think I'm, you know, they probably think I'm Brazilian and they're like, oh, I'll check him out. And then they hear me like, oh okay, oh, he's all right though.
Given that you're doing all of this stuff on YouTube and you were doing it on Facebook, I can't remember if I found your links elsewhere, but are you on places like Instagram and stuff? Are you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
Are you posting videos there too?
Yeah, it's just the same stuff I post on
okay.
YouTube. Although, actually, on Twitter, it's taken off recently. I posted a few videos. Every time I post a video recently, it's getting about 30,000 to 40,000 views. Crap. Yeah, Baz from the Fratellis retweeted my video today, and
oh wow,
there's like I've got people that I consider celebrities like following me and stuff. It's crazy. So that's starting to kick off now, actually. So definitely, if you're watching and you want to follow me on Twitter, I would suggest it. But it's the same content as YouTube.
Wow, that's crazy as well for Twitter. Like 30K on a video. Congrats,
yeah, I've got 45 on one the other day, 35, and then I've got one going off at the moment. I posted this morning. It's on like probably about 25 at the minute. So yeah, getting a little following over there. Actually, I get more views over there than I get on YouTube. You know, just the nature of the platform. But
well, there you go.
Yeah.
If you are an aspiring musician and you're on social media, make sure you're posting everywhere. I think that's the biggest lesson learned there.
Yeah, you know, Facebook is very good as well. I'll knock Facebook for personal relationships, but for music, it's brilliant. And there's a lot of groups out there you can join, like-minded people who are struggling as well. And you can learn from them.
You said that you're not on Facebook, but you don't have like a page there then anymore.
I had a page before the lockdown. I had about 2,000 people following me on Facebook.
I was going to say, I find it interesting that you've kind of completely moved on. Like, I know your reasons, and we won't go into that again, but like, because I've started posting on my Facebook page, which I wasn't doing before. I was just promoting from YouTube. But then I realized that you can actually potentially earn money from Facebook. And I'm not that naive to think that like, oh yeah, I'm going to earn money from this. But I treat it the same way that I do with YouTube, and I do a little tricks and things that, so for example, the podcast, there's always a delay. So like YouTube always gets it first. And then Facebook is always delayed. So you never get the latest episode. You always get like the one before, and like little things like that to encourage cross checking over and such.
Yeah, that's good.
And like there are different thresholds and stuff on Instagram, Facebook and such, but there are like different useful tools, like I discovered this recently. I don't know if you know this, but like if you have a Facebook page, you can cross post in the scheduling. So you can schedule something to be released and then do the same for Instagram, and it'll then release it on Instagram, provided that it has like a picture as like the main part of as part of the post or whatever. And so it saves me so much time. I schedule everything. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I think it's always good to kind of be in everywhere as much as, but and also I think there's like a different audience as well. Like I know people that follow me on Facebook that don't watch YouTube videos. So part of the reason
but I mean, I really never posted all my stuff on Twitter. And I didn't expect that there'd be people on Twitter that, I know it sounds silly, of course, there's more than 12,000 fans of the type of music that I do out there. But I kind of thought, like, when I post my stuff, I was him again. And then all of a sudden, all these people, like, finding me on Twitter when I post things on there going, whoa. And I'm like, have you not seen this on YouTube? It's got like 300,000 views. I'm sure you probably would have seen it. But these people, like you say, that maybe they don't use YouTube. Maybe they use a completely different platform, So,
presumably, like you promote your YouTube videos on your Twitter, though, right?
What I'll do is I'll cut a minute out of the video and then just put it on there. And then in my bio, I've got, I'm a YouTuber, by the way. Here you go, here's my YouTube channel. But what it's like. Who I don't know if anyone looks at that. I don't even know if anyone knows I'm on YouTube. But yeah, because they look at what I post on Twitter and it's popping off. So there's definitely value in posting things everywhere. Because like you say, there might be a completely different audience.
Yeah, and maybe actually your idea of posting smaller clips works better on Twitter. Like I have heard theories that like it's better to do it that way and such. So yeah, I don't know. Well, hey, it sounds like it's working for you. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. Let's switch it up again. Tell us something about yourself that your fans don't know.
Definitely that I was a massive metalhead. Definitely, no one. Actually, I told someone on the sly before, and they were like, "No, I thought you grew up listening to like Barbara Streisand or something like that." Like, they thought I was like, literally, it was like I could just imagine you laying down and listening to some jazz on a cold afternoon or whatever. And I was like, no, I was in mosh pits of downloads, like going crazy to Devil Driver and Chimera and stuff like that.
Oh man.
I think a lot of people wouldn't know that. Yeah.
It really is interesting actually, because like even when I was like fully in, I think when I was a teenager, I was like really, really into metal and rock, and I couldn't ever imagine listening to other types of music, but I did, and I think we all did, just not massively, because back then, it was largely an identity thing, and it was like, oh, you can't listen to anything else, you have to listen to this. And
I'm so glad you say that, because that was my experience growing up. You were in this group or this group. There was no, if you were in the metal group and you even dared to say that or hum along to a rap tune or something like that, you'd be ostracized instantly. It was like, no, you're either over here or you're over there. These days, everyone's everywhere, but back then it was very different.
Yes, it was weird. Like, no one gives a shit. Like that, I discovered that like when I became an adult, probably in my early 20s. Like, I started to discover like, A, listen to whatever the hell you want. No one cares. B, like, yeah, you might get different looks if people see you're wearing a metal shirt, or like you look a bit different, but ultimately people don't care. And like you said,
Yeah.
like teenagers now, like I look at my little brothers, and like, you know, they're just into everything. There doesn't seem to be any trends. I mean, I suppose there are a few online trends and such, but not like how it
Mm,
was when we were growing up. There
yeah.
doesn't seem to be that segregation that there was.
No,
It's
definitely
weird.
not. Definitely not. It is.
Weird, man. Weird.
Not back
Okay.
in my day. It wasn't like this in
Back in
my day.
my... We're old bastards now, so we are like...
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's move it forward. Now, I don't always really talk about people's personal lives on these podcasts, but I thought that this is interesting. You know, I've had previous music guests on who have had like developments in their personal lives, which I think is always interesting in terms of how it affects like your songwriting and your view and things. Right now,
Mm,
last year you got married, so congratulations.
thanks.
That's awesome.
Cheers.
So
My ring's around here somewhere.
don't let your wife see that. How has married life changed you in terms of like your music? Like, has it had a big impact on your music? Has it changed the way you write music, or like maybe the covers you pick, or has it had any impact on your music at all?
Good question. Not a noticeable one, to be honest. But the thing is with me, I've been with my wife now we got married last year, but we've been together for like 11, 12 years. So,
Oh, congrats.
um, and we fell instantly in love, you know, and it hasn't waned really. So I've kind of been in the same headspace for that time. I definitely think being in a relationship has changed the way it's changed the sort of music that I like. Definitely, it's changed it's definitely been an influence on my songwriting. But ever since I've been writing songs, I've been in a relationship, so I can't really say it's changed.
Did your wife
And
introduce you to like a lot of music then, or was there something like that?
no, I wouldn't say so. She's not as into music as me,
Okay.
to be totally honest. I wouldn't say my musical taste. Yeah, she didn't get me into anything necessarily. Maybe I just softened up a little bit and liked, you know. I've always liked, like I say, I grew up on like Michael Jackson when I was really young, on Motown stuff, and then
Oh
I
yeah.
listened to heavy stuff. So I've always had that bit of both anyway. But yeah, I'm probably enjoy the tender side a little bit more now. Maybe that's bound to have something to do with being in a
I'm
relationship.
exactly the same. Like sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, you're weird, you know. Like I made this playlist recently, which is it's like 50s, 60s, 70s music. And it's like my idea is just because like I feel like yeah, Motown, all that music is just like the best music ever made. I don't know. There's so many good songs. Just
Yeah,
like they've been used in so many movies, and it's easy to see why.
yeah.
But like I often find myself listening to that over, say, listening to like rock or metal. Like I have to be in the mood for that now. I feel like
I
it's
know
all
what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, when I was an angry young man, you know, and you put on Imperium by Machine Head, it just
yeah.
speaks to you. But then now, you know, when you're doing the dishes, you don't really think, oh God, you know, like I don't really have any anarchy towards middle-aged life as such. So that's probably yeah. I think I've that's probably why I like a bit of Morrissey, depressing stuff. But
I find that a lot of the time it
crazy
comes down
idea.
to like your activity. You know, like if I'm playing basketball, it's hip hop. You know, if I'm
Hmm,
playing, if I'm at home working on things, either something that's maybe a bit of pop if it's something that I need to get shit done. It's like I need something with a bit of a beat, maybe some dance music or something. But if
yeah,
it's like relaxing, it's got to be really chilled. You can't. I just feel like you can't relax to like really really heavy stuff or like really fast stuff. You know, um,
exactly.
like I don't know how
Yeah.
I did that when I was a teen. Like I just
Yeah. I
crazy.
used to go to sleep to metal albums, you
Yeah,
know, like it's crazy to think. And now when I'm in bed, you know, God knows what I'm listening to, but it ain't that.
I remember when I was like 14, I I set there's this song by Slayer called Disciple, and it's off the
Oh, I love
album.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
the amazing album. It's called God Hates the Source. excellent metal album. I was
Yeah.
addicted to Slayer, and I thought it was a good idea to set that song as my alarm clock song, right, to wake
Wow.
me up in the morning. And so it would wake me up
That's
in the morning really violently. I'd be like, and like initially I thought, oh, that's really cool, that's really metal. But then I started to actually hate that song because it was the song that woke me up. And I changed.
yeah, reminding you that it was time to, do the boring stuff now. Yeah.
Yeah, but even to this day, whenever I hear that song, like it's a good song, but I can't really listen to it because I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like I've
Yeah. I don't
made
blame you.
myself hate it like accidentally. Anyway, right, we covered this next question a little bit, but I'll rephrase it a little bit. So let's say that you get offered like a contract by like a major music provider, or whatever, or like would you, okay, let's say you get offered that, or you've got the decision to, okay, this is how I'm going to phrase it. Let's say you have that, or you got to choose between that or your popping off YouTube career, which means operating yourself, releasing independent music yourself, doing it independently. Which road are you more likely to go down? Which is more preferable for you?
100% going with the contract. 100%.
Oh,
Because,
okay.
because in my headspace at the moment, I want to provide for future children, and I want to provide a good life for my wife. And if that means, well, I don't know which one makes me. I don't know. I'm not just financially motivated, but I would. At the point in my life I am. If things were going to pop off, how evenly are they going to pop off? That's what I need to know before I can answer that question.
I mean, I guess it would have to, it'd have to be like completely equal then, wouldn't it?
Completely equal.
So like,
if it's completely equal, then I'll stick to YouTube, definitely.
Yeah.
Because like you say, I've got my independent, my freedom, I can release my own music and stuff. But if I'm getting offered more money to do something, like that, then it's time for me to be sensible in my old age.
Okay. Let's phrase it a different way. Let's say that you get offered like, I don't know, $500,000 million recording contract, right? Or you can go down the route of a solid, comfortable income from YouTube, like that dream you said before of like being able to have like a couple of grand per month solidly, and a core audience that listens to you. So it's like you might not. So it's basically money versus this kind of comfortability and having control over it. Which do you pick?
It's tricky, isn't it? I mean, deep down, my integrity definitely is the thing. I mean, I've never had money, so I have no reason to chase money. I haven't lived a privileged life to this point. I mean, it's tricky because in the mindset I am in at the moment, I've got personal responsibilities flying at me left, right, and centre, and all I can think about at this moment that I'm speaking to you is money. To a degree, like being financially stable. I am financially stable, just to say, but money is. I'm not going to lie. At this point in my life, money is quite a big factor for me. So I don't know.
I think for me,
I don't know if I can answer.
Me answering that question, I like, because I would have the same difficulty as you. It's a real tough one. But I feel like the length of the recording contract is key as well, and the control, the percentages, all of these things. Because like if it's like a contract for say like a year is a year. Do you know what I mean? It's over, it's done, that's it.
Yeah.
But if it's like 5 years, Say go. Say again.
So if you've got a recording contract for a year, you can go back to YouTube after that, no?
Right, and this is what I'm thinking. It's like you get the exposure, you get all that, and then you can just go back to YouTube, you do your thing. But if it's like 5 years, they control everything, and this is the tricky thing as well. And I think if you're going to go into the music industry, read the contract. Always read the contract, because what if they own your YouTube?
That's true. Yeah.
That's the tricky thing. You might not get it back.
it's really difficult, you know, because it would all depend on who's giving you the, like you say, like you rightly say, it's all about control. That's what it's about. Because does that mean that I'm going to be able to go and make the music I like? If it is, then I'm doing it all day. But you know, if they're going to tell me, right, well, you need to wear, you know, the red spandex thing that Britney
Oh
Spears was
God,
wearing,
no, no, no.
and sing, you
Yeah.
know, Hungarian jazz, then it might depend on how much money they're giving me. So
It's a good point that you make, actually. Like I hadn't even considered that, but yeah, I mean, because I think a big thing about you as well is the vibe you give off. I think that's what a lot of people. That's certainly what I like as well. It's not just the music; it's like you give off quite a humble, nice guy kind of vibe. I think people dig that. But like when you go down that kind of, I don't know what you would call it, corporate route. Let's call it that. You know, they're manufacturing you. They're producing you in what they want, and
yeah,
you know, like you say, you got to kind of like toe the line and do what they tell you. But it's like it's not you necessarily, and I feel like that's always a big
yeah.
danger with that route.
See, but the sort of person I am, I've always been curious about learning ever since I was little. Literally, like always wanted to. I've always been the kid who's like, or whoever who asks, "Oh, how does that work?" or what. So I've never had the strongest, you know, standards and in the world. I've always I kind of feel like I could learn. You know, if they wanted to produce me in a certain way, for me, I'd probably be thinking, well, actually, maybe I should be doing that. You know, like who says that I know what's right? I have what I like, but then it depends how much they want to change. You
Mm,
know, if someone was, if they would sit down with me and say, right, your songs are okay, but we can't use them, and you're gonna have to work with a songwriter, and or if a songwriter came in and listened to my songs and was like, yeah, this part's good, but the rest of it's shit, so we're gonna cut all that out and blah blah blah. Part of me would be like, okay, you know, I'm learning something here, so I wouldn't totally be 100% against it. Like, no, this is my baby, and I'm right, and I know. Do you know? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, yeah, I don't know. It depends how much you'd have to change.
that would crush me personally. Like I'm with you. If there was like some sort of partnership there in terms of working on the
Mm,
songs and like always an ownership and influence in that, and like it is just you writing with people, that's one thing. But
yeah.
yeah, like them saying, "Oh, your music's shit," you know everything's gonna be written for you, and you're singing other people's songs. Like I couldn't do that. I genuinely couldn't do it. I think it would kill me.
See, yeah, it would kill me as well, I think. But I don't know if someone was writing brilliant songs. I've had this discussion with a friend before. He was the same. He was like, I would never ever sing a song that wasn't written by me, but I ever made it. I wouldn't sing any. For me, I'm not as high. I can contribute to a song. I can write a song, so I don't need a whole song written for me. I can definitely contribute. But if I had to do a joint partnership and I wrote 50% and someone else wrote 50%, to me, I don't mind that as such. I'm okay having collaboration in that way. You know, for me personally, I'm not totally like, right, everything's got to be my way, and this is how the song's going to go. Yeah, I don't know, like, you know, even if you think of like the Beatles, how much influence did George Martin have on the music? You know, there's always something to learn. You know, as such. It just depends where this line is. This imaginary line that we're discussing. It depends how far left or right it is. For me, I'm not totally 100%, you know, stuck in my ways and like everything has to be my way or nothing. I'm an artist and I am already perfect, and you're going to work around me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you are. I know you're not, but I know people that are like that. You know, so
Yeah, I mean, again, for me personally, I feel it's always dependent on the circumstances and the nature
mhm,
of the arrangement or partnership, as it were. Because
yeah,
as you say, yeah, sometimes having songs written for you isn't so bad. I mean, you know, major musicians do it. I know people like Justin Bieber do it. You know, they sing other people's songs occasionally. Is there some people that do it completely? I mean, I think Elvis did that. He
I was
only ever
just going to say
sung.
Elvis did, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the Beatles started out doing a lot of covers, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
The second album was I don't know how many covers were on it, but there's a couple of Beatles albums that are almost 50% or more covers, you know. And then they grew into the songwriting. They were writing good songs. They were writing the best songs ever written. So I should clarify, but that slowly they started to gain more control as they went through.
Yes.
So there's an element of that as well. George Martin thought the Beatles were crap. He hated their music when he signed them, and he tried to make them record other stuff. So it's, you can always grow under that situation as well. This is a conversation that could go on forever. Like, I enjoy it. I enjoy thinking about it.
I'll stop bringing it to a close. As a final question, do you have any upcoming sort of projects, anything immediately that maybe you'd like to share with us right now, or perhaps maybe just some final thoughts for your fans or anything?
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a covers album. A lot of people are asking me for a covers album. Okay. I've got to get in there for Noel Gallagher as well, because he's nicked my idea, so I've got to get in before him. No, I joke, by the way. Yeah, so that'll probably be the next thing I do. In terms of saying something to the fans, just thank you. Like, I don't know, I can't believe there's 12,000 people that are even remotely interested in what I'm doing. I do believe in myself. I do believe in my abilities. I know how good I am, but I just never expected, this sort of attention. So yeah, the best is definitely yet to come. Definitely. The best is yet to come. I'm nowhere near my potential. I'm honestly telling you, I'm nowhere near my potential, I don't think.
Yeah, so, I completely agree with you. I think definitely, like, you just keep doing what you're doing, and it's gonna be exciting couple of months moving forward. I think.
Or it could all come crashing down tomorrow. Let's remember that as well.
I like how humble you are, but I think realistically, it's given how well it's going now. It's gonna, so long as you keep it consistent, as long as you don't stop, as long as you you're reactive to your audience, and you keep putting that stuff out there and doing what you love. I think it's already connecting with people on a level right now. So there's no reason that it can't sort of continue in that manner.
Yeah, it's interesting because my recording techniques aren't even that great, but still the videos pop off. So it makes me wonder, if I get a better camera or if I get a better microphone.
I think these things help. These things do help, but I think like ultimately it's about what you produce. Because I have the same worries. Like, for instance, right now, like your camera looks excellent. Mine looks like the fucking potato filter because it's a shitty webcam. But at the end of the day, it is about the content that's being produced and, what kind of resonates with people. And like things like shitty cameras and equipment, that'll improve over time. And your audience knows that. They know that as you grow, everything's going to get better and like, your guitars will get a bit better, your mics will get a bit better, whatever, right? But like the talent right there is there. You know what I mean? The talent is undeniable. So
thank you, man.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of room for improvement as well. And
and it's a good attitude to have. It's a good attitude to have, I think.
I'll never stop trying to improve. And I do think for anyone who might be interested in watching my growth, I know I am going to grow more, and there's a for growth, and just stick with me, and we'll see where it goes. But yeah.
Well, listen, thank you very much for agreeing to appear on the show. It's fantastic to finally have you here.
Thanks for having me. Absolute pleasure, man. I've enjoyed it a lot.
It's been an absolute pleasure for me too. So thank you. And to all my listeners, I hope you enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much for listening to the Christian Reeve podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to Adam Barrett on YouTube. Make sure you go check him out on Spotify. He has, as we've discussed in this interview, a lot of excellent music there and more music to come. So that'll be very exciting in the coming months. And for everyone listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I believe we're now on Overcast FM, which I had to Google today because we keep getting added to various different platforms. And this one is apparently an app. So hello to everyone on Overcast FM. And I hope that everyone is enjoying the podcast as much as I'm enjoying making it. This is the 26th episode now, so it's kind of crazy how quickly.
And that is the day I was born on, so it's magic. This was meant to be.
It's meant to be. Thank you, everyone, and until next time, peace out, one love. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.